Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Lock Pod, the Midwest's most dangerous podcast, Season 10, Episode 6, brought to you by Calumet Brewing. Celebrate life's moments with Busch Light, and then head over to Cal Brew on Facebook or Instagram for a chance to win Busch Light Igloo Cooler. Sweeps are running through September. Visit buschlight.com and their social media pages for exciting updates and events. That's today's episode, Calumet Brewing. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Welcome back, Compass.
Thank you. I'm here.
I'm
back in the studio.
We had a prolonged discussion about why the Compass is a perfect nickname.
I heard that.
Oh, you did? You didn't listen to it as of yesterday.
I listened to it late last night.
John, he was intimidated because it was a high quality show.
High quality show, yeah. I think John said it's finally all coming together. And
I know.
The notes are the best ever, and they were without me.
Good. You were listening.
I'm glad. How Kevin took notes on the show on who said what.
I took notes on your notes.
There was some funny. There was actually. I thought it was a great show. You guys did great. It was funny.
I said that because I knew you would be listening.
There were some funny things about the soccer thing. I thought was funny.
I love how we talked about Kevin's favorite topic when he wasn't here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a hot story. And honestly, because Kevin and I we save material, and I used a lot of the saved material for the
I know,
show.
because last night we were like, I was like, man, we all these things we're going to do.
Like,
I'm like,
dude, I got nothing left.
Sorry, I did them all, Phil.
Yeah.
I was like, so now the show today is going to suck.
Hey, good morning, Notorious LMP, by the way.
Good morning.
Why do you look so sad?
Oh, nothing. It's just that,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
My
You
dad
already started
didn't-
with an apology?
Uh-oh.
My dad didn't recognize me for National Daughter's Day yesterday.
I didn't even know there was a such thing.
Your mother posted on Facebook.
Dude, I don't look at what my mom
about
posts.
your sisters.
I don't look at what my mom...
You're on Facebook more than I
careful.
am. You should have
She's-
seen
She's
that.
listening.
I actually commented on her thread.
Yeah.
You did?
And when did you do
But
the
it was
commenting?
like last night at like 10 p.m.
Wait, so you commented on her
Better
thread, but
late
didn't...
than never.
No, because
right?
I was like, what the fuck is this? My mom's got a picture of my sisters up talking about how awesome they are.
Yes,
And
and
I'm
at
like,
that point you didn't think to
when is
yourself, you know what,
freaking-
I should say something to Lindsay.
Yeah.
Literally the first
This
line
is
is
when it
Happy
should've passed
National
from-
Daughter's Day to my two daughters.
And then I was being funny because
And
I'm
Dad was
funny.
like,
and I
"What
was
is
like,
this?"
Daughter, see, you looked at I was like, Daughter's Day. Psh, right? And then I was like,
Pshaw.
oh shit.
Wow.
That's where I messed up.
Oh, shit, but then
No.
like...
For the record, I
No.
had a shitty night last night, Lindsay.
Did
It's
you
not
text
like I was
her?
feeling-
Like,
you know
at
what?
least-
I have a lot of crappy
No.
nights too.
When
okay?
is fucking National Sons Day? Do you
No
text-
idea.
I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah?
it exists at
I'm
some
gonna check
point.
your Facebook, make sure you're posting
Hey,
properly.
I'm going to check yours. You got
Yeah.
sons, too.
I didn't do. I'm an equal opportunity offender.
You know
okay?
what? Yesterday, Dad was on Facebook.
I offend all.
Dad saw
That's a
that
good
post.
title.
Dad saw the post, and he was like, "Huh, that was nice," and forgot he had a daughter. And he was
I
like,
never
"Oh,
forget.
Never.
what?
My-
There's too many boys running around." He kind of forgets it.
I
September
had it.
28th.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
guess what?
National
2 days.
Sons Day?
Yes.
You better
All
not
right.
post anything.
Tom's got
promise,
this
babe.
great photo of like Chase, Tommy, and Patrick.
He's had me like brushing it up for like a month now. Getting
And
it
the
ready.
dogs.
It's in the draft.
Big night out. Invites Lindsay to dinner. Out for National
Going
Sons
out
Day.
to eat.
Oh my God!
I will not, Lindsay.
No,
I'm
you-
an
like you
equal
said,
Don't
opportunity
you dare!
offender.
Yes, exactly. Equal
Okay.
opportunity offender. You forget your sons.
I
2
promise
days.
you, they won't care.
Have-
Just-
have
and
you
I
know-
know you don't, but
Yes.
What?
Sorry. I was going to say, I'm looking at my Facebook, and like I used to be able to see all the, legions of
Yeah.
lock potters that you would watch, and
That's a
that number's
Facebook
not
thing.
on there anymore.
You don't want to
Facebook
know.
thing.
I don't.
Yeah,
No.
it's a Facebook. It's distracting anyway. It's a Facebook thing.
It is. Why would
I know
they
you
take it
guys
off?
are getting a
They
little
did it
too
this whole
obsessive
season.
about it.
This season, it's been like that on my phone.
Wow, I haven't noticed.
Dad would
that.
have like the worst day ever after he saw that the viewership was down. He'd be
No.
like, I don't know why.
I bring my
We're
A
not
game
getting
better.
better. We're not
I-
getting better.
I bring my A game better when I know it's a big crowd. It's
All
just
right,
like
well, let's
if
just
you're a rock star.
This way, you just assume it's a big crowd.
Well, with streaming, it always is a big crowd. That's
True.
one thing I always keep in mind.
good point.
Right? I mean, we know how many people stream it, and it's a lot. So, hey, damn, by the way.
Damn.
John, I know, and John and Lindsay, I know you
Damn.
guys aren't football fans.
Damn.
But the
I'm-
Notre Dame versus Ohio State game on Saturday night was freaking classic. It was a classic battle.
With a bad ending.
Yeah, it was. I was the ending I expected,
I
unfortunately.
hear that
Not
it was
me.
a
I
very
was all-
exciting game.
it was
It
amazing.
was an amazing game
Listen,
to watch.
I was there, and I've never heard Notre Dame Stadium as loud as it was. I've never heard it that loud. It was freaking rocking. It was so awesome. It was night game. People were wasted. I got there at
Wasted.
5
Whoa.
o'clock
Oh,
for a
they've been
7:30
tailgating
game.
since 7 a.m.
Yeah,
Probably
they
true.
literally had been tailgating for 12 hours by the time Marissa and I
Yeah,
got
night
there.
games tend to be a little more.
Dude, this was
drunk
the worst
fests.
I've ever, because it was literally like there was fights in the parking lot at 6
Whoa.
a.m. over
Hell yeah.
parking spots. It's 6 a.m. and the
Yikes.
game is at 7:30 p.m. So
It's a long day.
Once they settled in and they started camping for 12 hours at Notre Dame, basically.
Looked awesome. I watched it on TV with a bunch of old friends, and we were huddled around the TV, and it was a phenomenal game with a bad ending.
Yeah, Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman, I like Marcus. He's a good guy, but he botched it. He did. He messed it up and lost the game for the guys. Like,
I mean,
it was literally coaching mistakes that lost that game.
The last series, both offensive and defensive, had some blunders.
Yeah,
that you need to be able to handle in tough games, in big games.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, a lot of positives. I'll tell you this: if I was a recruit for Notre Dame, and I'm sure it's a big recruiting weekend,
it was a
I
big
think
recruiting
that's I think that's going to be
the place was
helpful.
Hell yeah, dude! Any kid that wants to that was the perfect day to bring any recruits there. It was a green out, so everybody's wearing their green,
including the players.
Everybody had their green, and the players' green jerseys are really cool.
They were
I like
really
them.
cool
with the white. They have white numbers and green. It's freaking awesome.
Next thing you know, we're going to get you in one of those jerseys.
I'm going to get one because mine is old. It has gold numbers, so I want the new ones.
And the helmets look great. I thought it was great. It's awesome, but terrible result. And
Yeah.
I think the Irish will still be okay.
I think the Irish are great.
How do they? I mean, did you see did they go down in rank at all?
I think they did.
Maybe one?
No, I think it went to 11 from 9.
That's
so
not-
it's
that's
not a big
nothing.
deal. And they're still in. But they have a game against USC still remaining. And they have a tough
cannot
schedule.
wait for that game.
They're playing Duke this week. Duke's ranked like 22 or something like that, 19 or something.
They're going to
So-
wipe Duke.
Okay.
That's
But
my
I'm
opinion.
saying I hope they're not overlooking it because Duke's dangerous this year. So anyway, that was I found this comical. And this is not a football talk show, but we talk about what's going on. Like the gist is if we're all at dinner and we're just BSing, and I realize some people aren't interested in football. But I found something funny about this weekend's Bears game, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because
I did too.
the Bears are epically shitty this year. Okay? They suck.
More so than usual.
It seems like they're shittier than
I
usual.
feel like they're worse than last year.
Yeah.
I feel like people
Which
have
is
been
hard to do.
complaining about them for like 20
Ever.
years.
The
They were
Bears
the-
were 3-14.
They were the worst team in football last year.
3-14.
Weren't they the worst? Didn't
they
get
got the
first
number
round
one
draft
pick.
Yeah.
They got the first pick.
They were the worst team in the NFL last year.
So the Bears were 3-14 last year, and I think they're worse this year.
So far, I
You
agree
would think
with you.
you would think they're getting better. It's hard not to get better if you're 3-14.
Justin Fields looks lost.
But also,
Yeah.
like, the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl last year.
Right. Fair
enough.
Like,
They won.
right?
They're
But
playing
like that's the
against,
thing
like,
about
one
the
of the best
NFL
teams.
that sucks is like you're constantly playing tough teams, right? And the
Especially if you're the worst.
Bears and the Bears were 0-2. They had a tough first two games. I mean, playing the Packers is not easy ever. And then they go to
Tampa. They should have beat Tampa.
I was at Tampa, Kevin. It was 10 degrees on the field.
They should beat that team.
Okay,
That's
well,
the game that
but
got
that's
me aggravated.
I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think they're that good
Until
And
this game.
I think why would Tampa have a game at noon in August or September? You know why? Because they're used to it and nobody else is. I thought I was gonna have a freaking stroke that day, and I was sitting there drinking water. I wasn't running
Imagine
on the
full
field.
pads and a helmet.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So, like, it's easy for us sitting there, drinking our beer and eating our sandwich on the couch to bitch and whine about the Bears. That was a hot-ass stadium that day, man.
I don't
Hot
think you
as
can
hell.
use the weather as an excuse for the Bears. They should have won the game. All right, but anyway.
You're assuming they're better than the Buccaneers, but okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, the
they're
funny
probably
part
not.
was, because this isn't funny about how shitty they are. They're really, really bad. Okay, we all agree to that, okay? Right?
Yeah.
They're horrible.
Terrible.
Fucking useless.
Have been for a hot minute.
And they're
but
worse,
But the
which is
problem was
hard to
this
do.
year we really were. I was hopeful.
I was too.
I was like, they're going to be all right.
Because we listened to the media.
Yeah.
And they were saying how good they were going to be. And they suck. Okay, so we all agree the Bears are fucking tragic and they're hopeless. But the interesting thing about this, Lindsay, this is where I'm going to drag you in. Okay? Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Of the
Famous
Chiefs. Tight
football
end.
player, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the
Okay,
best
I
tight
would
ends
like-
in history.
I would like
Mm-hmm.
to say that I'm like one of the few women my age who's not a fan of Taylor Swift. But
Really?
Thank you, Lens.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
Good. Then
All
you'll
right.
love this.
You're gonna
I'm the only one that's going to stick up for Taylor
Set
Swift.
the
No,
table.
but I still love Taylor Swift a little bit more than the Bears.
So, like, check this out, Lindsay. So, I don't think it was alone because we were on the Lockpod chain and we talked to each other for show
I know. I
ideas.
was on it. It was angry.
Vicious.
Kevin and John
Oh.
and Steve were bitching and moaning about Taylor Swift and how she was celebrating all these touchdowns.
No.
I thought it was freaking hilarious.
Hold on.
Because the
Not-
Bears suck so bad. It's not Taylor Swift's fault that the Bears are so shitty.
No.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is what happened. First of all, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce just started dating, or at least publicly dating. Who knows how long they've been dating, but first publicly dating. This is their first game she's ever gone to watch her beau take on the Bears
with his family, right? They're in the
yeah. And so she's up in the.
She's
she
hanging
first
out
of all,
with
she had
his
to
mom.
get she'd
So
get
weird.
snuck into the stadium in like an equipment closet.
Why? Because she's famous
She's
Okay.
like the number one most famous
Narcissist.
person
in the
world
world.
right
She's
now.
like Michael Jackson.
They
was.
put her up.
Basically.
I'm trying to translate it for Kevin. Kevin, she's like Michael Jackson was when
Okay.
you were a kid. Okay.
If Michael Jackson reacted the way she... Okay, so anyway, she goes up into the booth. She's hanging out with Travis Kelce's family. She's got her crew there. And the Bears are getting wiped. I'm talking wiped, okay?
Wiped. It was what?
So
Which is
34
what
to
they're used
nothing.
to
this
at
is...
this
Okay,
point.
it's the third quarter. It's 34-zip. 34-0. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like trash time.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Even the Bears are putting
Okay.
backups in.
And then this happens. John?
Yep.
11th play of the drive. Mahomes lofting end zone. There it is. A touchdown to Kelce.
And she's jumping.
She is like... She's screaming, jumping,
They're having
clapping,
fun.
smiling.
Her dad.
Look at her mom. Travis Kelce's mom barely clapping.
She's been to
Okay,
100 games.
so she's been to no games.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, who cares?
So now it's 40-0.
But
That
hold it.
reaction
40-0.
is ridiculous.
Who cares?
What do you mean?
cares?
It's like, okay, all I can tell you is if you look at Travis Kelce's mom, she's been there. She's
Agreed.
like 100
She's
touchdowns.
been there
because
This is like
that's her kid. She's
new
got two
love
kids.
touchdown.
Okay. You know
Stick
what?
it up the Bears'
All right,
ass.
Hold on.
I'm going to, yeah.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
I've been to 150 to 200 Notre Dame games, right?
Okay.
I don't do the chants.
Okay.
I don't
When
like-
they're beating
I don't
Middle
go-
Tennessee State.
I
I don't
do
go
the
over the top.
chants.
I don't go over the top. I'm
Right.
like very calm. Like,
Okay.
That's not
Because I've been to a
true.
couple games, right?
Correct.
Well, you've been there, but when we were kids, you were
Okay,
all about
come
the
on.
student.
It's like they just won the Super Bowl.
Section.
Dude,
Super Bowl.
if Jana caught a touchdown pass in a home team and it was 41-0, you'd be going apeshit because
Not
that's
true.
your girl. Because
Nope.
you'd be like, Jana, yeah.
You
Not
wouldn't
true.
celebrate
I'd be doing
your
like
wife's
Kelsey's mom.
accomplishments.
Let me tell you this. Like, for example, here's what I would say. The seasoned football fan is Kelsey's mom.
Yeah, because
And have
Kelsey's mom has what? She has two sons in the
Yeah.
football league,
Okay,
right?
here. Okay, then let me give you another one. If anybody's watched Quarterback, look at Mahomes' wife. Mahomes' wife is like, hey, yeah, he's awesome.
You're
We're
sticking
just
up for
rolling
Brittany
here.
Mahomes.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying she's...
You're in the wrong side of history, bro. Everybody hates her.
Well, I don't
I
know
think,
why.
Kevin, I think you're just taking Taylor Swift's reaction to the man that she's in the honeymoon phase of their relationship
Yes.
with a little too personally.
Look,
Simply
thank you,
because
Lindsay.
It was
maybe
like-
you lost some money on
Lindsay's
a game.
wise,
I
isn't
didn't.
she?
I did not bet this game. There's no way I would have bet the
Okay,
Bears
then
this
don't
game,
take
although I
it
should have bet
personally.
against them.
It's
I think
fine.
Taylor Swift's
She's
hot,
just excited.
and I'm happy for her.
John?
She is smoke show, and I'm a big fan. And
She's incredibly talented. She's very
I'm not
industrious.
taking any of that away
and
from her.
She basically runs like her label like a business.
I'm
and
not
she does it
taking
very
that away
well.
from her. Very successful businesswoman, great singer.
I'm not a fan of her music, but she is great
okay,
at what she
okay.
does.
John, what do you think?
I was on the fence about Taylor for a long time, and then I saw her at the VMAs recently, just a couple weeks ago. Did you guys see this? Camera constantly kept cutting to her. She knew the camera was on her.
That's not her fault, man.
Hold on. She is a narcissist. Like that's
What do
just
you
what
mean,
I'm.
dude?
That's
Wow.
She
just-
told-
Thank you, John.
that is what I've determined after the VMAs.
No,
and then you
she
add this
knows
clip
her
to it.
brand. She knows that
No,
the cameras
it's-
are on her,
Her
and
brand's
she's
annoying.
I would say this.
It's not tailored for you. Tailored.
Very good. Fox NFL definitely knew that if there's nobody that wants to watch a 40-0 game, so let's just show Taylor Swift all the time, and that'll keep people watching.
By the way, what's not being talked about is the fact that once the fans realized Taylor Swift was in the stadium, they stopped watching the game, and there was like 10,000 people lined up outside of her
there was
box.
no game to watch.
But they were like, they had to bring in the state police and stuff like that because there were so many fans trying to get into her box.
I
Well,
believe
yeah.
that.
This chick is like
why
Elvis.
would, why would
She's
they
like
want to
Elvis.
watch this game? They're watching the
I'm
Chiefs,
just
one
saying,
of the
I don't
best
care if it's a
teams,
nail biter.
washing out one of the worst teams in
I
the
don't care
league.
what you guys say. She's she's the most famous person in the world.
Oh,
One of the
she
most
is.
famous people in the world. And I would celebrate if my, spouse was out there
new
kicking
new
ass
boy,
too.
new girlfriend,
Yeah. Well, I don't have a new girlfriend, but like what I'm saying is,
new boyfriend.
if Marissa was out there kicking ass, I'd be happy for her, and
You
I
know
would go
what?
show up. And
If
I think that's
Brian-
what she's doing. And all the Bears fans that are pissed is freaking comical to me.
No,
It's like,
if-
you should be pissed off at the sorry
I
ass
am.
team out there
I am.
instead of taking it off on Taylor Swift.
no, I
If
think
Brian
there's
were out on
overreaction.
Hey, Taylor Swift, you're not coming back to Chicago.
overreaction.
She's just annoying to me. That's all.
All right. Hey, let's move on. I pulled this out because it's an update of a story we've done on Lockpod about Donald Trump and the insurrection clause and whether or not Donald Trump's going to be able to run for president. And this is a real thing. We talked about it on Lockpod. Attorneys, and this is Trump team fights insurrection clause. Attorneys for former President Donald Trump argued that an attempt to bar him from the 2024 ballot under a rarely used insurrection clause of the Constitution should be dismissed as a violation of his freedom of speech. The lawyers made the argument in a filing posted Monday in a Colorado court in the most significant of a series of challenges to Trump's candidacy under the Civil War-era clause in the 14th Amendment. The challenges rest on Trump's attempt to overturn his 2020 loss to Democrat Joe Biden and his role leading up to the event on January 6th at the U.S. Capitol. Trump will also argue that the clause doesn't apply to him because the 14th Amendment applies to one who's engaged in insurrection or rebellion, not only one who has instigated any action, Attorney Jeffrey Blue wrote.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we reviewed that clause of the Constitution, one of the things we talked about was I think I even said the key word in this is going to be engaged in and how that's interpreted in the court. So that's interesting that they're kind of going in that angle, and we'll see where it goes. I mean,
who's engaged in insurrection or rebellion? If he instigated it, which is what his lawyers say, and he's almost admitting if Donald Trump instigated,
it's not engaged, which is interesting. It's going to turn on how they interpret those terms.
Like and he didn't participate. He led them and fired them up, and then said, "Okay, take it easy, everybody. I'm going back to the White House." Right?
Yeah. I mean, and
so what role do you play if you instigate them? They get pissed off. They attack the Capitol, and you're back there chilling, watching it on TV.
I mean, conspiracy is a conspiracy.
All right, it's interesting. I'll be honest with you. I think it's weak. I think it's a issue to talk about. I don't think it should bar him from running.
I'm with you,
John.
Same.
Issue to talk about. Nothing that bars him.
Yeah.
Right?
And just to be clear, if Trump. So they're challenging this. If he wins this applies to every other state that's challenging him?
No, I don't think so.
50 different. It's 50 different opinions, John.
Wow.
Well, so what should happen?
Right, John? Right, Kevin? Until the Supreme Court jumps in.
Yeah, I was going to say that someone's going to transfer this to federal court and remove it to federal court because it's a federal question.
Okay, so 94 different opinions. There's 94 federal court districts.
No, I'm saying eventually it'll go up to circuits.
Eventually it'll go up, right.
Yeah.
Right. It might even short circuit everything and go right to the Supreme Court. Right?
Yeah. And they'll be like, no, I don't think it.
So my impression, because I think it should be very hard if you say you cannot run. I think this should be an issue we talk about, but ultimately I think Donald Trump should be allowed to run in this regard. I'm not saying that the prior felony should be forgiven or anything. I'm saying in this issue, if he was inside the Capitol breaking a window, I think you can make an argument and it would be taken better. But the fact is,
I think it'll be good to get some clarity on what engaged in rebellion will be, and that'll be nice to have that clarification for now and in the future.
So anyway, why don't we go ahead and move on? We'll do some ads, and then we're going to come back after ads. And my last night, if there's people out there that listen to this show because it's like a reality show sort of on what it's like to be mayor.
This is one of them.
Well, let me tell you about last night.
Yeah.
I had about 45-minute, I don't know, whooping.
I think just a very intense discussion about an issue that affected many people.
470 homes in my city we had 4 inches of rain, and
we'll get to it.
Okay,
we're gonna get
basically
to it.
We had a severe rain event, and a lot of residents showed up last night super pissed.
Stay tuned to what it's like to be a mayor in a tough situation.
So we're gonna do that. That's gonna be all next segment, the second segment, and then the third segment we're gonna come back. We got some Todd Rokita news, which is always great. Todd Rokita should be a guest on our show. We talk about him so much.
He's one of our faves.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a Todd Rokita update in the third segment. So
stay tuned. And by the way, thank you to our episode sponsor, Cal Brew.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the Prestonmer Insurance Agency. For decades, the Ron J. Prestonmer Insurance Agency has been trusted neighbor right on Indianapolis Boulevard, serving all your insurance needs. Their wide range of insurance products and services, including auto, home, business and life, has helped over 1,000 individuals and businesses throughout the Chicagoland area. Call Ron or Ronnie today at 219-844-0103. They're here to protect what matters most to you.
Byway Brewing is a family-friendly microbrewery welcoming you to their spacious taproom and outdoor patio. Enjoy award-winning craft beer, a chef-driven menu, and craft draft cocktails. Their unique brewing equipment and production facility provide a perfect backdrop for private events, whether it's a bridal shower, reunion, or corporate party. With their new food truck, they can cater to your corporate and private events off-site. Customer service is their top priority at Byway Brewing. Just off of 8094 at the Kennedy Avenue South exit. Discover more at bywaybrewing.beer. We had lunch there yesterday.
Yeah.
In the private room.
It was great.
Phenomenal.
The council lunch.
Phil and Dave and all their guys, just phenomenal job.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Had the lobster roll.
Yeah.
It was good.
Kuklakis Law. Are you currently navigating complex legal challenges, unsure of where to turn for guidance? Your search ends here with Kuklakis Law, your trusted partner for legal solutions in Indiana and Illinois. Whether you're seeking expert representation for real estate transactions, need assistance in forming your business, or have experienced a personal injury at work or in a car crash, Kuklakis Law is here for you. No matter the nature of your legal issue, your team is ready to help. Call Kuklakis Law today at 219-671-6347 to schedule your free consultation. Hablamos Español.
Rogers Roofing. When you demand nothing but the best for your home and family, trust the industry leader, Rogers Roofing. For over 54 years, they've been transforming homes in Northwest Indiana and the Chicagoland area. Their commitment to quality shines through in their roofing. Siding, gutters, and windows, all backed by the most comprehensive warranties in the business. Visit our website at rogersroofing.com or call 219-933-9145 to schedule your free consultation. That's rogersroofing.com or 933-9145. And remember, at Rogers Roofing, excellence is expected every time.
All right, well, welcome back, and thanks to all our sponsors. The mayor had a tough night last night.
Yeah, well, I didn't have as tough a night as my residents had last Sunday, okay? Because last Sunday, on August 17th, in our city, a series of storms swept through, just little cells. Actually, it was
I
sort of
like swept through. It kind of like just sat there.
It was like a low pressure system. It was like spinning backwards.
Yeah.
Which, if we have them spinning backwards here, it's a low pressure system, and they don't move fast.
Right.
And we live right by Lake Michigan, which feeds a lot of the storms because it's really hot this time of year, just like when hurricanes feed. And we had this low pressure cell sit right over the city of Hammond and spin right off of Lake Michigan, and it just kept feeding this storm. And it was a weird storm that I had parts of my city that had less than an inch of rain, much less than an inch of rain.
Down by me.
And unfortunately for another part of our city, which was, we call it North Hammond, which...
Robertsdale?
No. North Hammond. It was a little bit south of that, Lindsay. 4.24 inches of rain.
Yikes.
During a storm. Now, Dean and I were doing some quick calculations. Dean is the city engineer. We were doing quick calculations. We said this is about 3 square miles. I think that's a safe estimation. I think it's probably closer to 4 or 5, but we wanted to be safe. So
what is that? What's the city of Hammond?
25 square miles.
Okay, so there you go, by about 1/8.
1/8 of my city.
Okay, and
so
by the way,
to give you an idea, this is one small section of the city that gets hit by this cell.
I was going to say there is also neighboring communities right across the state line because obviously for those that don't know, Hammond sits right in the northwest corner of Indiana on the state line, and communities just to the west, Calumet City, Dalton got hit as well. So that's kind of where this storm was just circling.
And they're in the process of getting FEMA help because of cooperation between the governor's office and the local mayors. And they're all Democrats there, and it works a lot better than it does right over here where you have a Democratic mayor and a Republican governor, and a governor that is, and I'm not blaming, I'm just saying it's a fact, is Republican conservative, looks at the role of government as limited. Whereas J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, looks at the role of government as more expanded. So, you're totally different philosophies.
I think that's fair.
Even though it's same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
On one side of the street, it's a lot different than it is on the other, okay? And quite frankly, I think it's better on our side because of the lower taxes that you have.
Yep.
But try to tell that to a resident just got clobbered, okay? So we did a calculation, 4 inches of rain over 3 square miles, and that's a safe estimation. 460... No, that was 400 million gallons of rain, 406, something like that we got in about an hour.
2 inches of rain across 3 square miles, 108 million gallons of water.
Okay, so then you double that, right? Because we got 4 inches. So it was 220 million gallons of water that we got in that. And by the way, the storm is not just hitting that part of the city. We did have water getting generated in other parts of the city. We also have customer communities sending water to us.
And the other thing, I thought that just the intensity was crazy. I saw numbers that said it was over an inch in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And over 2 inches in an hour.
Right. True story.
So not only do you have volume, you have intensity.
Okay. Now, keep in mind that our plant, that is all the water is collected under the streets, and sewage also is collected under the streets, and all this mixes together in some parts of our city. In this city, the rainwater and the sewage mixes together and heads to the plant under the streets, right? No, the plant is a big enough plant. In fact, I did some searches on AI yesterday, asking like hypotheticals on, according to AI, how big a plant should be for a city the size of Hammond with customer communities that we have. It came back and said we should be about 40 million gallons.
Yeah, and our capacity is 68.
Right. It's
So,
closer to 70.
there you go.
So our plant's huge.
Mhm.
It's way big enough to accommodate the city of Hammond, according to, the internet. Which
Right,
is
and
where I
also,
am.
like you said, it also treats customer community.
And we treat
Munster.
customer communities.
Right.
So the plant's big enough. All of the water in the sewage is mixing under our streets and heads to the plant. I told you, just quick calculation, a safe estimate was we had 220 million gallons of water. Our plant's rated for 70.
Could you also, I think it's
So, like,
important.
let me say that again, though.
Yeah.
You're like 220 million gallons of water are headed for a plant designed for 70.
Could you explain, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but the importance of a combined sewer versus a separated? Like, the fact that you just said, why does some have to go to the set?
Well, some of our city is separated, some of it's combined.
Right.
I
Stormwater
think,
goes-
ideally, everybody should be separated.
Right. And stormwater can go out, combined has to go
Yeah.
to treat.
Right.
Right. That's
Stormwater
important,
could go
right?
right into the river, right. Whereas combined, right. But like we're such an old city, much of our city's combined still. So why not just fix that, Mayor? I don't know. It's about $400 or $500 million to do such a thing.
Done.
Just change all of the streets in the
Check.
city. Yeah, I
Easy.
mean, if we have a billionaire that wants to write a check, I'll do it all next
Yeah.
year.
Everybody wants to pay thousands of dollars a month in their
Right.
sanitary
Right.
district fees on their
So
bill.
okay, so that's really not feasible. Let's be honest, right?
Sure.
So we have 200 and something million gallons of water headed for a plant that can't handle that, so it starts to overflow. We have overflow process. It's called a CSO basin. The CSO basin during this storm was discharging 468 million gallons per day.
At a
was
rate.
the rate.
That was the rate.
So not only is our 70 million gallon plant completely flooded by all the water it hits it, our CSO basin is like
How big is
basically-
it?
It's 50 something million gallons. It's just completely overflowing the CSO basin.
And the
so
CSO
the plant is wiped.
Yep.
And the CSO basin's just trying to collect the solids. That's the fancy term.
That's a nice word.
It's a nicer word than saying, just
Feces.
imagine what we're talking about. The heavy water, like imagine with me what I'm talking about. Heavy water goes into this big pit, and then the heavy stuff starts to fall to the bottom of that pit, and the water keeps on passing through. So that by the time the water goes into the river, the heavy stuff collects in this pit called the CSO basin, and the water is somewhat treated. It's not totally treated like if it went through the plant, but it's cleaner than it would have been if we just discharged.
And the
right.
EPA is okay with that.
It's not, they don't love it, but that's the combat. That's the plan in heavy rain events. That's how it's supposed to work. And it worked that way. And imagine that 470 million gallons of water if we didn't have a CSO basin.
And you didn't how many years ago?
But
This
yeah,
didn't exist?
but let me say that again.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that CSO basin and the 470 million gallons of water, where's that water right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's in your basement. We took care of 470 million gallons of water, and we still backed up 400 and something houses, right?
So fast forward to the meeting.
So we go to the meeting, and everybody was like, "You're going to get your ass kicked today, Mayor." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand. People are upset, but this is where I have a problem. I didn't do anything wrong. I did nothing wrong. The Hammond Sanitary District did nothing wrong. Like the system didn't fail. Everything worked exactly how it's supposed to work.
To its capacity.
Yeah, we were drowned in water. What the hell are we supposed to do? So, as a mayor, if I accept responsibility, like if people say you guys and you owe us money, if I agree to that, then I'm saying we messed up. But I'm not going to say that because we didn't mess up. So that people want a perfect world. Just tell me this is never going to happen again, Mayor. They were saying that to me, and I would be like, "Do you want me to lie to you? Do you want me to say this is never going to happen again, or do you want me to be truthful?"
I think the easy way out is to sugarcoat it. We're on top of this. We're going to make
Never
sure.
going to happen again. We are on top of this. That's not me.
Mm-mm.
So I said, my basement flooded about 7 years ago, and I never rebuilt it. It's still the same crap down there that got sort of not ruined, but it wasn't great. And we just said, I don't really trust it. I'm also combined where I live, and I realize that the basement is a place where sometimes you're going to wake up and it's going to be all wet. So why put $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of nice stuff down there if it's just going to get ruined one day? Or if I did do that, I'd probably get flood insurance specifically to cover me in a situation like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think
These are options people
absolutely, and you
have.
get flood insurance. Deal with it. Like you said, just make sure you're not in the area where your basement floods or gets water once in a while. I have that area. I don't leave a lot of stuff. I leave very little stuff down there.
I do now.
And I vacuum it, I wet vac it out and pump it out, wherever. So, but all right. So, okay, you said you've got flood insurance. I think there's, like you said, backflow preventers.
When we had ours, I did not have flood insurance. I had a finished basement.
I didn't either.
And it ruined a lot of our shit. And then we had to take it out, put it in the alley, and it's sort of...
And you dealt with it. And
mm-hmm.
you didn't...
It sucked. I hated it.
Yep.
But and I wasn't so this is another thing, is when that happened to me, of course I was the mayor, but I wasn't hey, you guys fucked up. Right. The Hammond Sanitary District, you had the pump turned off. Or the floodgates were shut.
Well,
this is stuff that I hear.
Yeah,
is people want, when this happens, they are I want to get mad at somebody because this isn't, you guys messed up.
It's understandable.
It's
right?
It's easier than coming to grips with the fact that this is probably going to happen again. It's easier to be Kevin Smith, you messed up, and I'm mad at you.
I let the mayor have it.
Right. So I actually said this last night during a meeting. I said, my job is to get yelled at by people. But I did nothing wrong. None of us did anything wrong. If you want to yell at the mayor, here I am. Because it's not solving anything. I did nothing wrong. I'm not going to sit here and get beat up by you because there's nothing we could have done. I didn't forget to put the magic umbrella up that night. So oh my God, it's raining. Bloop! Magic umbrella. Hammond is safe. This is fantasy land. People want, this is never going to happen again. So I was I'm not going to tell you that. This could happen to my house next week. It could happen again to your house, and it would be horrible if it did. But it's like Russian roulette. It may not happen for 10 years. I haven't had a wet basement since that incident. So it's Russian roulette.
So get insurance or not get insurance. Save the money on flood insurance or don't.
Right? And there are options. You could, and we talk about this all the time. It's a check valve. I call it a check valve. It's called a backflow preventer. Could be done to your house, which will protect your house from backups.
But it costs $1,000.
It costs way more than $1,000. It's $5,000. We have a program that offsets that. It's expensive, but it protects your house. Mm-hmm. So if you have $25,000, $30,000 worth of stuff in your basement, yeah, you probably should invest an extra couple of grand into a backflow preventer to give you even that much more protection. But if you're not going to do these things and your entire basement is ruined, what I have a problem with is people's first instinct nowadays, and I'm not just talking about Hammond, I'm talking in general, okay? People's first instinct is pay me. Mm-hmm. I want money. And then I'm getting that, and I'm this isn't our fault. So are you saying every time we have a basement backup from now on, the city of Hammond should be financially liable? If that's what we're saying, that's needs to be a
crazy, isn't it?
That needs to be a budget item, and it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be millions of dollars. So, we'll have a basement backup fund. Is that what we're talking about? And then we're going to fund this with millions of dollars of taxpayer money. Then every time somebody gets a basement backup, they go to the city and say, "Give me $500 or something." Right?
That sounds crazy to me.
It's insane. It's insane.
I mean,
it's hard to tell people that because these people are hurting right now, right? But they're also I want to get paid. This is your fault. It's this is not our fault. There's nothing we could have done to prevent this.
As mayor, when you're going into that situation, I'm just trying to get in your brain a little bit. When you're going into the council meeting and you see the crowd, right? Do you struggle with how am I going to approach this? Am I going to sugarcoat it? Am I going to let them know what the truth is? Or do you? I just know how. I know how you are. In the sense that you like to tell it like it is.
I'm well prepared when I walk in there. You knew that. So in fact, the notes from today's show was what I walked into the council chamber with. I was armed with facts. Okay. So, and I'm also in my head knowing that a lot of people in here are mad. They're looking to take their anger out on me. If we did something wrong, and I'm going to make sure that they realize that there was nothing wrong that happened. That's where I was. That the system worked exactly like it was supposed to. And if we're talking about protecting ourselves and making the system twice as big, that it's not just a couple $1 million. It's literally $200 million or more to make the improvements that they're talking about. And we don't have 200, and 200 million is probably underscoring how much it is.
I think that's right.
So we don't have that money. So, and our system is big enough. It's probably 50% bigger than it needs to be, which is perfect. That means we could grow into it still. Mm-hmm. But when you get slammed with 300 million gallons of water within an hour, there's no system in America that can handle that kind of water. There's no system.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. And there's some great comments on here about when it happened to them in another different part of the city in Hessville or other parts. They cleaned it up. They got through it. One person said they checked their insurance to make sure it doesn't happen again. They updated it. I mean, it sucks.
I would call Ron J. Prestomer
There you go. Ron will give you answers.
I would call the Ron J. Prestonburg Insurance Agency, a LockPod sponsor. You can go back. We did his commercial just right before this segment. And I would ask him specifically for flood insurance. It's not super expensive. And it's literally just for flood. And it would cover this kind of stuff. And,
But it's a decision of a homeowner to say, Ron, how much, or whoever your insurance agent is, Ron, say, hey, Ron, how much is it to add this onto my homeowner's coverage?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll give you the number. If it's a couple $100, guess what? You've got to make the decision.
Right.
Is it worth the $200 a year, or am I just going to take my chances and clean up the once in the decade it happens, hopefully?
So here I am, Kevin. My system, my house is on a combined system, which makes me vulnerable to the same kind of thing, which is you can get sewage backed up into your basement.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have a backflow preventer in my house.
Okay.
So if we have 4 inches of rain hit my neighborhood and I back up and I get sewage and I get water and my basement's destroyed and I have to clean it out, yeah, who's responsible? Do I go to Hammond for that? No, you don't. It's not our fault. By the way, this is, in my opinion, this is climate change. We're not in the middle of a desert dying of heat and a lack of water. We're not in a forest where our forest is burning down. This is our climate change in the Midwest. We're going to get torrential bursts of rain.
And you see more tornadoes. You see
more tornadoes, more damaging storms, and this is going to be our climate change. We're not going to burn down. We're going to drown where we are, and we have to get...
Ooh. Would you rather die by burning, John, or drowning?
Drowning.
I think drowning.
Yeah, agree.
Because you're unconscious for most of it, whereas for burning, you're awake for all of it.
Agree,
Wow.
Lindsay.
This
Thank
just
you,
got
Nurse
detailed.
Lindsay.
Yeah,
Lindsay,
How would
thought
you
about
rather
this.
die?
is your basement protected? Do you know, Lindsay?
I do have a backflow valve.
Wow.
We
Lindsay.
got that
Thank
put
you,
in
Brian.
like right when we moved in, actually, because we were having some issues with
Really?
backups.
Does it work?
Look at that.
Yeah.
It works? You never been wet?
Nope.
That's awesome. I'm gonna
Lindsay,
do
I'm
that.
so impressed.
I am too.
I know. I feel really impressed. Like I've got that, and my
Dude,
dad doesn't.
Lindsay,
Like, I'm
what you're
impressed with
talking about-
myself. Like I didn't even know that's what we were getting. It was just
Lindsay's like, yeah, I got a backflow
So
preventer. How about you,
on a
Dad?
you're on a combined system too, then.
probably. I don't know anything about that.
No,
I just
but-
know that when it rains, we don't get any water because our basement's finished. You know,
Damn.
like it used to be an in-law suite, so they had a partial one installed, but it wasn't very good, so
That's
we
really
replaced
smart.
it.
I'm
so.
glad to hear that. That's really smart.
This
A
is where
backflow preventer, like that's. So I got on AI yesterday. That's going to be a future segment. I joined a AI chat yesterday, right? Chat GPT, and I asked it
So weird.
if I wanted to
Dad's
protect
best
my
friend,
basement.
a robot.
If I wanted to protect my basement, do you have any ideas? It was like get a backflow preventer. It was the number one recommendation.
Number one.
Yeah, it's like backflow preventer. Like, that's how you do it. So the fact is, my home is unprotected, and I preach this all the time to Hammond residents: get a backflow preventer, and my house is in the same vulnerable position. So I got to take my own advice. John, what do you think? You saw the meeting.
Yeah, there were some really kind of heartbreaking stories during
For sure.
During public comment, but it does sound like, Tom, this could have been 1,000 houses had that pit you mentioned not be put in.
That's true, John.
Things like that.
It could have been 2,000 houses if we don't have that CSO base.
Well, and part
It
that
sounds
CSO
like not only was it not anyone's fault, it actually could have been a lot worse. Sounds like there was some proactiveness.
It's
over the
one of
past few
those,
years.
though, where I'm in public and I didn't even look backwards because it was, like you said, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to think I'm being mean-spirited
Mm-hmm.
because it's horrifying what they're going through. And I feel their pain, and I'm trying to, explain to them something they don't want to hear. It's so hard. It's like, this is... Because if I start handing you out money, it's like accepting responsibility for what happened. The way I see it is like, there's nothing we could have done. And if we are going to start a fund like the one we're talking about, that's not going to be cheap. And who funds that? That's going to be taxpayer funded, which is going to make our taxes go up.
that
And
or
nobody
your
likes
sanitary
that.
district fees are going to go up.
Or your sanitary district fees are going to go up.
And by the way, I just want to mention, the city entered into a consent decree with the EPA a while ago regarding the sanitary district, and one of the things that occurred as part of that consent decree is the CSO basin and other ones that are planned, but it takes time to get through $600 million
You're right.
of consent decree, and the sanitary
600
district's
million.
doing that slowly but whatever.
250.
250.
Yeah.
Thank
Jeez,
you.
Pete,
I was
scared me.
sorry.
I
I
thought
was
you knew
using-
something I didn't.
No,
I was like,
wrong
what?
number.
You're finding it out right now.
I was
Hey, I
thinking,
forgot
I was
to tell
thinking
you
of
about that.
redoing the city of
Yeah.
you used that number earlier.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, 250 million in consent decree things, and one of those things is the CSO basin that was built.
Right.
There's going to be another one
Yeah,
built.
there is.
So these things are happening, but
by
it
the way,
takes time.
Think about that, Kevin. If we will have another CSO basin built for sure in the next round when we're complying with this consent decree, and we'll have 2 areas that'll give us the ability to overflow.
Yes.
Which is going to give us even better capabilities to fight these types of events, because we could divert water from one to the other and try to like balance it out, so that instead of having 468 million in one, maybe we could have 2 of them doing that, which takes that much more water out of our basements. But like this takes huge money. That
and
CSO,
time.
That CSO basin took $50 million.
Yes,
$50 million. That's freaking huge money.
Yeah.
And like Kevin said, if we're going to do another CSO basin and we're going to have to spend probably $80 million now because it's much more expensive, who pays for that?
God, I didn't know it was that much.
The Hammond
The
Sanitary
CSO
District does.
Yeah, it does, and through its ratepayers. And, this is the thing. I think that there's a segment of people out there that think the government's just sitting around on its ass. And the fact is that these are things that the sanitary district is thinking about daily, and how are we going to improve our system, and what can we do, and where can we get the money to do it? But there's only so much money, and there's only and time,
right. and there's only
time.
so much appetite Hammond residents have for massive increases in their bills. Yeah. Like that's the one thing we control the Hammond Sanitary District bill, meaning we're in control of our own destiny. We're not in control of our own destiny in regards to property taxes and other things of that nature. But with the sanitary bill, if we wanted to undertake a $500 million capital campaign, we could do it. But I would have to raise your sanitary bills massively. That's the rub. That's where the pushback happens. And I work for you. So I'm not going to do that. We're going to do it incrementally. We're going to make smart changes. We're going to comply with our consent decree without trying to raise your bills in the Hammond Sanitary District 300%.
Astronomically, yeah.
Right? So, like, that's the rub. All of this costs money. Everybody thinks that we could just build another CSO basin and it's not going to raise your rates. That's fantasy land. That's my best job I could do right now is just be honest. So that's where I'm coming from.
Be realistic.
I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm totally empathetic to your situation, but this is the situation. Nobody messed up.
The other thing I was going to say is I saw at the staff meeting right after that event, I saw the faces of, Marty, Matt, Jack. I mean, these guys had been up all weekend. They had been up, dealing with this. It's not that they don't care. They're out there working their tails off and trying to help people.
And getting called names, their staff, getting called assholes and jerks and lazy, getting like yelled at, cried at,
That's hard.
Like we did something wrong. Getting treated like you fucked up. You owe me money.
There is no magic pump button. There is no magic gate button.
Everything's automatic. Look, in my basement, Kevin, I have 2 sump pumps, and they're both triggered if the water level reaches a certain height, right? That's exactly how our district works.
Yeah.
You think we have people sitting there pushing buttons? No. It's all triggered automatically. We have people monitoring it, right? You're not like, oh, man, so-and-so was asleep at the switchboard and they forgot to turn the pumps on, or they forgot to open the valve. That's not how it works. It works automatically.
And do you feel like, I think it's important, at least the way I see this, is you're not trying to be, you're not trying to have like lack of compassion, because I know you care, right? You care about your residents. You care about what happened to them.
Right.
But you also want to be realistic in telling them what the situation is. That's how I see it.
That's the line I'm trying to walk.
Yeah.
That's the line. And I don't know if it's a smart line or not. Maybe it's better just to say, this is never going to happen again. Right. Maybe that's the smart way. Maybe I'm the dumb fuck, when somebody says, tell me this isn't going to happen again, Marin, and I go, well, I can't tell you that. And I'm honest. I think that's where I mess up. I
don't know about that. I don't think that's a mess up. I think honesty in government and hearing the truth from your public officials is really better than sugarcoating it. Mm-hmm. I mean, like John said, there are some very tough situations out there that you heard about last night. Mm-hmm. But you didn't change your message to say, like, that's really sad. Again. It won't happen to you again. Don't worry.
Right. I'm not going to say that.
Right.
In fact, what I said was I stopped building my stuff in the basement. I changed my behavior because I don't trust my basement like that anymore. Because maybe I need to do what Lindsay did. Maybe I need to put in a backflow preventer, and that'll give me more confidence to invest in my basement. But if I'm going to invest in my basement without investing in protection, I may lose that basement within a month. And imagine, there's people literally within 6 months lost their whole basement, and they're pissed at me. What are you going to do? I lost $20,000, and I'm going to rebuild it. And what are you going to do? Mm. What am I going to do? I can't do anything. That's what I was saying last night. I was like, what do you want me to say? Well, okay, it's never going to happen again. Maybe that's where I suck as a mayor. Maybe that's where I suck.
I think
it's just like, never going to happen again, sir.
Differentiate yourself.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be a truthful person, but last night, nobody wanted my job last night. I can tell you that.
Did you want to touch on, there was some conversation at the meeting about declaring a state of emergency.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
So now we were talking about how on one side of the street is Illinois and on the other side of the street is Indiana. And a lot of the people that were complaining to me last night are new residents to the state of Indiana. Okay. They're literally like just moved in from Illinois. And this is common. We have a lot of Illinois transplants. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't understand is one lady was like, all my friends and family live in Cal City, had the same exact thing happen. We live in the same exact neighborhood, which is true. And she's like, their governor declared a state of emergency and FEMA's working with them. And I'm on the other side of the street and you guys haven't done it. And I'm like, well, I can't do it as mayor in Indiana. This is Indiana. You were talking about Illinois. It's apples to oranges. Over there, it's a much different government with a Democrat governor, Democratic mayors supporting each other, supporting the federal government. It's not like that. We're Indiana. And in Indiana, it's Republican run, limited government state. They don't really operate the same way.
Well, and I think it's all about a matter of degree. And I don't want to say that this was a small event, but at the same time, I remember when we had Mayor Clinton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Governor Holcomb declared an emergency when their tornado ripped through their town.
Yep.
And people died.
Yep.
And he declared an emergency.
Massive and property damage.
And Mayor Clinton thanked the governor. And the governor went down there, right? It's different, but it's different.
You're going to say it. It's different.
It's different.
So I remember the last declaration of emergency where we live, was Munster floods.
Absolutely.
2008. Munster floods, millions of dollars of property damage.
The river came over the banks.
Oh my God,
the river flooded a city.
Yeah.
Massive destruction. Highway, massive interstate highway, the busiest stretch of interstate highway in America was shut down
Impassable.
for 5 days because of a flood. The governor declared a disaster. FEMA was working closely with the residents and in the business in the area. That was a massive catastrophe. It was national news, right? So my residents, obviously who are distraught and they're hurting and they're mad and they want me to declare a disaster area with the governor, and they want the governor to approach Washington and have FEMA. And I'm literally like, in my head, this isn't even 2% of the Hammond's homes. And I'm not trying to minimize what happened to those people because they're devastated, right? But in the overall scheme of things in Hammond, it affects less than 2% of our homes. There's no loss of life. There's no real property damage. It's personal property damage, but house is still livable and stuff like that, right? It's not comparable to what happened in Sullivan where a tornado ripped through and killed a bunch of people. And it's like,
and the homes were literally, you couldn't live there.
So it's like,
yeah,
I don't want to be not compassionate to them, but at the same time, it's like Governor Holcomb wouldn't appreciate me putting him on the spot like that because he's going to say, Tom, this isn't, with all due respect, Mayor, this isn't an emergency for Indiana. It's less than 2% of your homes. It's less than a blip on my radar. Like, we have 6 million people that live here.
And no one's been displaced that we know
right.
of.
It's
so
tough.
And by the way, like you said, Mayor, if you do it this time, what happens when, Central Hammond floods or,
it does.
Or Hessville floods?
Central Hammond flooded, East Hammond flooded 2 times in Councilman Barry's district within the last few months. So every time we have basement backups, am I reporting to the governor? Because, if I'm going to do it for the 400 homes here, that means Councilman Barry, who just had 2 events, I should have reported both to Governor Holcomb on that, and this is not going to go away. We're going to have basement backups because, unfortunately, Hammond residents aren't protecting their homes with backflow preventers, and unfortunately, we're combined in a lot of areas because we're an old city, and this is going to happen again.
Yeah. Well, it's a good story, and I think it's interesting.
I don't know if it is or not.
I think it's interesting to hear your take on it. I think that's the interesting part. So
I don't know, John. What do you think? You watched everything.
Yeah, it was a tough meeting. It was a long, tough meeting for you and for the residents. There's no easy outcome here, And you're certainly not. The other thing you hear on these, online and stuff is, oh, they open the floodgates and they turn. Right. Where are these floodgates? I hear about.
That's dumb ass people that are self-important on the internet that don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Have no idea.
But that's a problem in America now. Yep. We listen to people with no expertise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the time.
We do it all the time. It's like if you speak with authority, there's dumb enough people to follow what you're saying, even if it has no credibility at all.
But that's why meetings like last night were important, right?
That's all I'm trying to do is be a truth teller. I mean, it sucks because I'm giving the message that they don't want to hear. So,
all right, let's do some ads. We're going to come back, and one of our favorite topics is figuring out what our Attorney General's up to these days.
All right, let's go. Tortillas Nuevo Leon sets the gold standard in Mexican cuisine throughout the Midwest. Look for their iconic red and white label at your local grocery store. Indulge in the finest Mexican products crafted with local expertise and savor the taste of authenticity.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia, de todo corazón.
Powering Indiana, Lake County, IBEW Local 697 and NECA proudly introduced Powering Indiana, Lake County. With over a century of experience, they've been safely wiring the region. From powering corporations along the lakefront to lighting up homes across the region, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your trusted source for electrical professionals. Visit jact697.org. That's JACT697.org to join us as we continue to light the way for Northwest Indiana.
Misprint Printing. Elevate your brand with Misprint, the premier printing and sign solution in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. With a 30-year legacy of excellence, their experienced team, led by Rick Baltenberger, combines the innovation and technology to deliver top-quality signs and printing, always on time and within budget. Visit them at misprintindiana.com to bring your vision to life today. Misprint, your partner for creating impactful visual solutions. And also, they have 2 dogs that live there, and they're the best.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
So if you like dogs, it's even one more reason to go there. Cantrell and Cantrell, attorneys at law. When you're facing legal challenges or injuries, they're here to guide you through the process. Their dedicated team, including John and Kristen Cantrell, is in court and at the jail every day, ready to fight for your rights. I know for a fact that Johnny Law is in trial right now. Or I was trying to get him on the show Friday, actually. He couldn't do it because he was
busy.
Yep. So this is a guy that's probably done over 100 trials. If you're in a situation, 100 trials, just imagine how many cases he's had.
Mm-hmm.
So call John Cantrell for great legal representation. 219-554-4LAW. That's 219-554-4529. Or visit their website at bettercallcantrell.com.
Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to our episode sponsor, Cal Brew.
Why don't you take this one? This is your story.
Yeah, so recently, we've been following this. We've had different takes on the Dr. Caitlin Bernard story. We've talked about that. Mayor's met Dr. Bernard. And this has to do with, this goes all the way back to the big abortion debate in Indiana after the Supreme Court
So Dr. Bernard,
decision.
as a reminder, is she's the
Obstetrician who...
Thank you. An obstetrician who performed a procedure on a 10-year-old rape victim from Ohio, right in the aftermath of Roe versus Wade being overturned. And she went on national TV and said, she was trying to make a point that, there should be exceptions to what they were about to do in Indiana. And she pointed out how her latest client was a 10-year-old rape victim and she couldn't get a procedure in Ohio, so she came to Indiana. And then jumped in our hero, Todd Rokita, the Attorney General.
So as a result of that action by Dr. Bernard, our Attorney General Todd Rokita went on Fox News and some other outlets and lambasted her. And
he's like, I'm going to make her life hell.
And he did.
Because she's an Indiana doctor. And, the thing about the Attorney General is if you're a doctor or a lawyer, or I'm sure CPAs, I imagine.
Yeah, even cosmetologists.
And masseuses, I think.
Sure.
Aren't you're licensed to
practice? Yeah, you have a professional license agency covers your PLA, and then you have a license, right?
You have a license from the state.
Yeah.
Which can be revoked.
Which Todd Rokita said he was going to go after her
So
license.
imagine this. You're a doctor, and you practice women's health. And you go on, and obviously you're a woman doctor, and you feel very strongly about Roe versus Wade being overturned, which affected your life and your family's life and your clients' lives. And Dr. Bernard is like outspoken, proud woman. And she is doing what she thinks is right because it's America, for God's sakes. You could do these types of things. And her livelihood is being threatened by this prick. So Attorney General Todd Rokita. What a freaking jerk. Going after her license.
So then what happened was, and these are from statements from our Attorney General Todd Rokita, who said that this is on a Fox News show hosted by Jesse Walters on July 13th, 2022, when the Attorney General referred to Bernard as, quote, an abortion activist acting as a doctor with a history of failure to report, end quote. And two of the so what happened is there were 2 complaints filed, one by a former IU dean who filed a complaint against the Attorney General for making those comments, and the other was by Don Lumberg. Don Lumberg used to be the head of the Disciplinary Commission in Indiana. And because of those complaints, the Disciplinary Commission looked at those complaints and decided that charges were warranted and filed in the Supreme Court charges against Attorney General Rokita, 3 counts. 2 of them stem from those statements he made. And what the commission alleges, the Disciplinary Commission alleges that the statements violated professional conduct rules that say a lawyer can't make public statements about an investigation that has a likelihood of materially prejudicing the proceeding, and that a lawyer cannot use means that have no substantial purpose other than to embarrass, delay, or burden a third person. So that's the other thing. There's another count about confidentiality requirements about an investigation into a licensing board. That's the third count. Rokita framed the proceeding as part of an environment that cancels non-compliant citizens through intimidation, as well as tactics that can weaponize our respected institutions. And he said the complaint stemmed from grievances which mainly reference media reports. Now, I thought the interesting thing... well, John...
Amen, Rokita.
Then listen to this. So Don Lumberg, I thought, great, because he filed one of the complaints. And Don Lumberg, well-respected, very respected, okay? This is what he said. He said, I've never filed a grievance in my 48 years of practicing law.
Wow.
But he said, this is a serious matter, and to maybe turn the tables a bit on the rhetoric of the Attorney General, to me, this was a weaponization of government against a physician who was working within her specialty to assist a young victim of a horrible crime, and I think that's an utter abuse of that office.
Whoa.
So, I mean, I think that's an interesting
That's
point.
interesting. Don Lumberg was the one that filed it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
And he said,
and Don's a great guy, by the way. I know Don.
First complaint he's ever filed in 48 years.
And he's the former
head of the Disciplinary Commission.
So he knows the law.
I would think.
Perfectly.
And I think that's that's a respected person.
Very interesting argument.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like Rokita isn't conservative enough, really.
Well, nor
Like, to
I
stay
think it's
out
like,
of-
hey,
Yeah.
look at you're accusing weaponization of the Supreme Court
Yes.
disciplinary proceeding. When what did you do against Dr. Bernard?
Right.
You
Very
weaponized the
interesting.
Attorney General's office.
And by the way, people complain all the time against lawyers.
yeah, it's just
I've had multiple complaints against me, which I think are frivolous and usually are dismissed before. But this is something that when you're in public office, this happens to you. So Rokita, I'm sure, has had quite a few in his time.
Oh yeah, and
You know
then
what I'm saying?
I'm sure most are dismissed.
Kevin, how many times does that happen? Have you seen where it's bullshit 9 times out of 10 or 99
probably
times out of 100?
98 times out of
Right.
100, right?
Where
Because they lost a case or something.
Not just that, John. They're on the other team and they don't like you, and maybe they're a lawyer on the other team and they know how much of a pain in the butt it is when you get reported to the disciplinary commission. So what usually happens is, like 6 months after the campaign's over, I'll get a letter from the disciplinary commission that said, hey, so-and-so filed a complaint against you. We looked into it and we dismissed it. It was frivolous.
Yeah,
but you get this and you're like, holy crap.
It's
what
stressful.
a jerk.
You don't want to see an
But
envelope
it's usually
from
after
the
the fact.
disciplinary
After
commission.
the fact, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes they write a letter saying, you got this, we've investigated it, we're not taking any further action.
I've had that a few times.
And other times they'll send you a letter, and this is just coming from other lawyers that have asked me to help them.
You're
and
like, this has not happened to
they'll
me.
say, right, not happening to me, but you'll get a letter that says you need to respond to this.
Right.
And the one thing I would say to lawyers out there is that you must take that very seriously and make a very thorough
Hell
and
yeah.
complete response.
It's your license.
Right. And so that's the
If
thing.
you don't have a license, you can't be a lawyer.
And
if you can't be a lawyer, you can't get paid.
Former Attorney General Curtis Hill went through a disciplinary commission hearing
lost
and
his
ended up
license.
lost his license for 30 days.
And now he's running for governor.
Yes,
It's
he
a
is.
freaking crazy ass world, isn't it? The guy got his license suspended for 3 months. He's like, perfect. This is going to add to my resume. Now I can be governor.
So let's play this out. Let's say Rokita. Is there a chance he loses his license?
I don't think so.
What,
I don't
okay,
know.
what,
He will
what
not
happens
get,
here?
I think they go through it. Well, he responds. First
What
of
about
all,
he won't lose it for like 30 days, something like that?
He's taken a very strong response. He's got an attorney. He's going to fight it.
Hell yeah.
They're going to probably have a hearing in front of the Supreme Court,
Yeah,
and the
but
Supreme
never
Court's going to
say
issue an
never.
opinion. It can go from public reprimand, it can go from private reprimand,
Right.
public reprimand,
Yeah.
suspension with automatic reinstatement, suspension without automatic reinstatement, disbarment.
But would he have to not be AG for 30 days?
That's what happened
Yeah.
to Curtis Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
But and then he was automatically reinstated, if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
he was.
So he was out for like 90 days, and he had
30.
30, and he had his deputy take over for that period of time.
Yep.
Crazy.
And we literally, our elected attorney general couldn't do the job because he got suspended. And now he's running for governor.
Yes, welcome to
love-
America.
America 2023.
America.
By the way, that shit didn't happen when I first got
No,
in office. Like
no.
when I first got in office, if you got in trouble from the government, you were done.
Yeah,
Nowadays, that's like a badge of honor.
it's weird.
Look
Yeah.
at Diego. He's got quite a story.
Yeah, man.
Morales.
Yeah.
He's our Secretary of State.
I saw him
Yeah.
last week.
He was running through the courthouse. He was running through the State House.
Yeah.
Literally.
I bet that was
Yeah.
a
running.
sight.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, there's
Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah, running.
Run, Diego, run!
It was like
that's
that.
funny,
It was
right?
like that.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
literally running right through the State House.
Just one more quote from Rokita till we wrap this story up. I thought this was interesting because he had recently, we talked about Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton,
Yeah.
who just survived an impeachment proceeding in Texas,
Uh-huh.
and it was brought by other Republicans actually. But Rokita said this on X or Twitter: "This whole process was about Paxton. This whole process was a tremendous waste of time and taxpayer money. It was an insult to the 4.2 million Texans who voted for their attorney general. Weaponizing our institutions to silence the voice of we the people shouldn't be tolerated in a republic." And I'm thinking, like, wait a minute,
Amen.
aren't the Republicans trying to impeach Biden right now?
Wait a
Like,
second.
what? Anyway,
Yeah, Paxton beat it.
he beat it.
Yeah.
Now you see why Lockpod is the Midwest's most dangerous podcast. Right?
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect
Wrap us
example.
up. I got to get to court, like John Cantrell,
All right, man. Thanks, Lens, Notarius, LMP.
Peace
with a
out.
backflow preventer,
With
even
the-
though you didn't
dude.
get Daughter's Day acknowledged.
The only one
know
in the
what?
studio with a backflow preventer.
The only responsible one.
There you go.
with a backflow
That's
preventer.
probably true in this room.
Yeah. Jay Vaz,
Hey.
good job.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. Kevin, the compass,
Well, I'm happy to be
the
back.
Eagle Scout.
Thank you to Phil.
You
who
love the
covered for
compass.
me.
I know you do. I know you do.
I
It's
try my
his
best to
favorite
keep us on.
tool.
I try to keep us on track.
Guarantee you, when we get our next Lockpod shirt, it's not going to say Kevin Smith on the back. It's going to say the compass.
Said Kevin.
Kevin's going to be like, he makes Jana call him the compass. I heard that.
Not true.
Jana.
She does not
Weird.
think. She
Jana,
does not think
it's
I'm
the compass.
in our
Come
home.
upstairs.
She's
come
probably the
upstairs.
compass in our house.
It is the compass, Jana.
Yeah, thanks to Phil for covering for you. By the way, his pick was hilarious.
He won.
No,
Did he
no,
win a
his
parlay?
pick on air
Oh.
Notre
was
Dame.
Notre Dame,
Yeah.
and literally at 0 seconds, Notre Dame loses.
No, I
Well,
by the way,
they covered though.
I was right on that.
Yeah.
No, I said Notre Dame was going to lose.
Yeah.
Right before
Yes,
I know.
yes, you did.
I said I was nervous. I didn't know it was going to be that close. It was a great game.
I had him as a winner.
Go Irish. Go Irish.
Yeah,
Good
for
game.
sure, go
I'm
Irish.
proud. They lost, and I'm still proud of them. So, all right. Take it easy, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Midwest Most Dangerous Podcast. We love you, and we will be back on Friday. Take care, everybody. Lockpod is out.